Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Cancer. If Cancer is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. All right, let's see what these tea leaves have to say. Okay. We immediately have either it's the number 6 or the number 9. And that one really stands. It almost looks like a big 9 right here too. We have a 9 and a 9. Or maybe a 6 and a 6. In this way, it looks like 616. So if those numbers mean anything to you, here they are. And then we have what looks like an O or a 0 possibly. A lot of little numbers popping out. Okay, so the card that I have pulled for this reading, in every reading I pull a card from usually the Thoth deck to kind of get an idea, and that just totally wiped out that little that little O we had. So I pull a card to kind of give me an idea of what this reading might be about, or kind of a theme, an underlying energy. So we have the Knight of Wands, which obviously a very fiery card, right? And this is all about kind of haste, self-reliance, movement, just really going about things alone, really having a lot of self-confidence about the things that you're doing. This can sometimes be a lonely path, even though you are ripe with that kind of creative force, the fires of life, right? Which are kind of in line with that salamander, the keepers of the furnace, right? And they keep everything kind of moving, that warm energy that keeps things alive and animated. Okay, so this is very heavy, but it can also kind of almost turn into something that, like a fire that gets out of control, right? The blaze is so hot that it's kind of isolating from the other elements, from other aspects of life, because you are so focused in your power and your individuality and how you feel, that this can, become detrimental, as any of the cards can, right? They all have aspects that can be detrimental and other things that can be so-called positives, okay? It all really matters. It comes down to how we make use of them, doesn't it? Okay, so I want to start right here because this is kind of a really interesting image to me. We have a dragon, okay, and then we have a person kind of walking by themselves. We have birds overhead, okay, and so this kind of says the same kind of thing to me. The dragon being this powerful, protective, beast that, of course, is aligned with that fire, right? And then we have the solitary traveler, knight, the extreme individual, the person who is married to their work, to their path going on. We have the kind of birds, which I imagine in my head being something like, a bird, a scavenger type of bird, like a vulture, or what is it? Like a vulture. I was trying to think, what are the other ones? But a vulture, you get the idea. They come in, they take the carcass, they make use of it. But when you see them kind of overhead, you know there's death around, right? And you might be that meal because they're pretty intuitive, aren't they? But this I think is definitely about the state of kind of your emotional, spiritual, and just energetic levels here, okay? And this is where you can find yourself almost feeling, I get this idea of being so into your work, so into a project, so into whatever interest you have, been wrapped up in. And at some point, you kind of come up out of that, raise your head around to look around, and you feel very alone because you have not taken care of your relationships. You maybe have forgone your practices, your routines, the things that kind of upkeep the world that you had built for yourself. Now, is everything falling apart? I don't think so. But in some ways, things have been left neglected. Okay? And in other parts of your life, you have put in so much work that they are built up. Now, it's about finding those balances, right? Getting things evened out once again. I think that, it really is in your nature to go into your interests deeply, okay? And hopefully, at times, you can find connections there. Spiritual connections, emotional connections, finding kinship, fellowship with other people, other intelligences. But, sometimes it's just, it's not, those things don't happen there. Or they do, but they're so precisely tied to this one individual thing. So, for example, maybe you're really into, I don't know, you're really into like playing a certain kind of game, right? Maybe a video game or something. And that's where you have friends and, people somebody that you talk to. That's where you've like spent so much time. I'm sorry. It's loud around here during the weekend. If you can hear the car out there or whatever it was, motorcycle maybe. But you spent time building up your skills, learning how to do all the things, getting I don't know that much about video games, but I know you can spend a lot of time getting them all kind of maxed out and whatever. So anyways, when you're finished or you take a break from this, you come up into your life where, some things have not been done. Maybe you haven't called your parents in a while. You have not, gone outside very often, whatever it is. I think that there is this kind of, little break in, what's been happening in your life, whatever you've been doing. And I'm not saying that these are bad things necessarily, but I think that you realize, because I know you, Cancer, and I know that you are very much about keeping as many of the zones of your life, the spheres of your tree, in balance and a harmony as possible. So when you come to a realization that, okay, I've been kind of really, hyper focused on this one area, there is almost, this, you have to kind of indulge those other sections of your life. And that might be hard. And you know what? Maybe you're just really, really into your work or something, physical health, you're exercising a lot or whatever it is. And all the other things seem pretty frivolous to you. You don't have time. You have all this other stuff you have to do that's more important. But you know that you need to do all of it to some degree. You have to tinker with your schedule, with your time management. You have to indulge those things that you consider to be frivolous. Because some of those things are part of the framework of the system that keeps you happy, healthy, and productive. Okay, so let's look. I'm looking at this one, and you may not know what paddleboarding is. I barely know, but and looks like a person standing, and they're holding a long paddle, and they're standing on something that's like a surfboard. Okay, so if you can imagine getting yourself up, not only onto standing on there, staying balanced, but first you have to get out in the water and pull yourself up on the board and then somehow balance and get all the way up. And then you use that paddle and you paddle yourself around while balancing on this board. It seems pretty daunting to me. I don't know that I don't have good balance, but I think that this is a good example of doing the hard work, figuring out how you're going to get things kind of balanced in those a little bit of unsteady waters. But you are a master of water, right, Cancer? So if anybody can get balanced up on that water, it is you. And I think that this is the big focus right now, is forcing yourself to do things that you might not find to be that important, but they are. All the little things that are minor, if you are neglecting them, they add up to kind of bigger problems later on. I think that, not only that, to some degree, when you are really hyper-focused on things, you can become you become so kind of stressed and taxed by the things that you get really wrapped up in, that you can almost start to feel physically unwell. So I think a lot of this too has to do with taking a little bit of a break. And I'm just looking at this. We're trying to decide, well, which way does this make the most sense here? And really here, I just see it looks like some kind of, like a cat, a large cat, maybe like some kind of, I don't know, tiger or lion or something like this. And it looks like it's kind of in a more playful state. It has its tail up there. Instead of chasing an animal, it looks like it's kind of has a bird behind it. And I think this is kind of more of a carefree posture here. And I feel like this is just such a, it is a time, you have a brief window of time where you can take a moment for yourself before you have to get back to the tasks at hand. I think that this is a good time for being introspective, kind of taking, account of everything that's been going on for the last while. We're in your birthday season as I am doing this reading. So I think this is also a time that anybody who's, having a birthday, of course, has this kind of, natural instinct to take stock of where their life is at, where you've been recently, where, the kind of the themes of the last years, and where will you be going in this next year? What will you be doing? You know, it's a good time to take a little bit of a break. Take some time to rest, to kind of stoke your fires. Maybe go someplace that you haven't been, you know, somewhere that is kind of out of your comfort zone, but where you can kind of explore, find some new inspiration, and get just a reprieve from the normal routine that you have. Okay. I also wonder if it's not a good time for you to do some wandering. I know that most often Cancers like to stay close to home. You like to build a little nest for yourself, a little temple, a place that you have it set up to do the things that you like to do. And, you know, usually it's pretty streamlined, I would say, for most Cancers. But I think that once you get over the I don't want to go, I just want to kind of hang out at home. Once you get over that, you're out in the world, just kind of trying to be a little bit more impulsive, spontaneous. Once you get moving, I think you really enjoy yourself. You like to look at stuff. You like to experience things, try new foods, you know, hear music, whatever it is that really makes you feel happy and alive in the moment. Go and do something like that, you know. I imagine you going and like sightseeing. Maybe go to some museums. Go to a little, you know, medium-sized city and do some walking tours or something like this, you know. I think that it's a good reset for you, and the intentional movement is so important. And that's something else that I know that you know so much about as well, because most Cancers are pretty health conscious, I would say. Okay, so the other thing I see here is this little fairy, and I think that this is also a beautiful time for you to put your will out into the universe, your wishes, if your birthday's coming up, do it while you're blowing out a candle, you know, something like that. But I think it's, you know, if you pray, if you meditate, if you do any kind of rituals, keep altars, whatever, natural altars outside, offerings, votive things, this is a good time to put your will out. And you're thinking about your life, so it is a good time to figure out what do you want? What are you willing to do? You know, how are you going to honor yourself? How do you honor the universe? And what do you expect back? What do you hope for back? Okay, now I see kind of a person here with some kind of robe or dress on, something kind of covered, something akin to the maiden. I think almost kind of a naive energy. And to me, this often has a lot to do with an open heart, because the maiden, this kind of, you know, virginal Virgo energy is kind of this naive, unsullied, hopeful, optimistic, romantic kind of energy. And I think that that's so important for you to, at times, try to, try your best to get away from those cynical feelings, the feelings that you know everything. You've already experienced it, you know it. It's not worth attempting or trying, or you already know how it's going to be. Well, you probably don't. Things change, configurations change, variables shift, and things are always unique, right? So I think there's this sense of an open heart. And we do have a little bit of a mountain here. So I think that this is more related to kind of a relationship with the divine. I think that in some ways you've been really busy. You have not been partaking in your magical, spiritual, maybe self-work, you know, the things that really kind of are moving to you. You have not necessarily had time for, but I think that in this next cycle, it's going to be difficult for you to avoid that. So you are best off entering it with an open heart, with eyes to see, willing to receive, okay, and not be so, you know, neglectful of, even if it's just, you know, meditating for 20 minutes every few days or whatever, doing intentional movement, reading, what, you know, whatever your inspiration usually is, what you love, the things that you love, make time for them. And then we have a little bird, and I feel like this has to do with, you know, some kind of messaging coming through to you. I think oftentimes Virgo, excuse me, Cancer, you are obviously water, or well, we're all water, aren't we? You're very related to the water elements, and also the moon. So I think that, you know, there's always a psychic quality there. I feel like most Cancers are deeply psychic. I think a lot of Cancers also ignore it unless you spend time really cultivating and being receptive to that messaging, that revelation. It can go unnoticed. So keep an eye out. Keep your ears open and your heart open, and, you know, hopefully you are journaling or whatever, keeping notes on the things that come through for you, and that will only grow stronger the more you kind of put it back into practice. I don't think this is anything new for you. I think that you fully understand yourself and how this works, but it's easy for you to kind of drift into other things. So I think you're coming back to this place. All right. I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me. It's always such an honor to bring these messages to you. If you would be so kind as to like the video, it helps us to get into the algorithm, and we are growing this channel every single day. It's growing. So I thank you so much for that. If you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next videos are coming out. We're on a schedule where I read for every sign once a week. If you want to leave a comment, I read every single one of them, and it might take me a day or two to get back to them sometimes, especially during the summer. It has been really busy. I'm busy, you're busy, we're all busy. So, you know, I will get back to them. I do read them for sure. And, you know, I love hearing from you. I really do. So I want to thank you, and we will talk again very soon.